All right, imagine if you could have an AI that didn't just like take your requests and spit out answers, but actually understood you on like a deeper level,
Yeah.
got your emotions and all that. That's kind of the whole idea behind this new GPT 4.5, OpenAI's latest thing. But the reaction,
Yeah.
not exactly setting the world on fire.
Yeah, it's almost like they were trying to, I don't know, jump straight to that super advanced AI we see in the movies, the kind that's like a friend, but forgot to actually make sure it could do the basic stuff really well first.
Uh-huh, right. Like, we're talking about a model that they claim is the most knowledgeable they've ever made. It's supposed to be able to have these, like, totally natural, flowing conversations, picking up on all the little hints and things you don't even say directly.
Yeah, and I mean, one of their own scientists, Mia Gleese, she even said it has this warmth and intuitiveness to it.
Okay, so that sounds kind of impressive,
Hmm.
at least on paper. But there's this little snag. It's a price.
Oh yeah, that price tag. GPT 4.5 is like 30 times more expensive to use than GPT-4, the one before it. And like that wasn't bad enough. It's also supposed to be pretty slow. So some people are starting to wonder, like, does it actually do enough to be worth that much?
Ouch, 30 times. Yeah, that'll make you think twice. But wait, it gets even weirder. So for all this talk about how intuitive it is, apparently GPT 4.5 still has a big problem with just making stuff up.
Yeah, those AI hallucinations everyone's been talking about, like it'll confidently give you information that's just completely made up. And get this, MIT Technology Review, they said it was still hallucinating like 37% of the time in one of their tests.
Hold on. So even with all this supposed emotional intelligence, it can't even get its facts straight. That's a little worrying, to say the least.
Yeah, it definitely makes you question some things, especially because OpenAI specifically said they'd made things way better with these hallucinations.
So where does that leave us? We've got this crazy expensive, supposedly intuitive model that seems to have a real problem with the truth.
And that brings us to the big question, right? Are we getting ahead of ourselves here, focusing on making AI feel human before we've even figured out how to make it think straight?
You know, it's funny. I saw this tweet that said, so GPT 4.5 is the model you vent to. I want a smart model, not a model that understands my feelings. Like, it sums it up perfectly.
It's a good point. We're so focused on making AI into our therapist, so can it even, write a decent email without making stuff up?
Exactly. It's like we're trying to write the ending of the AI story without even finishing the first page.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of missing pages, this is where things get really strange.
Oh, you mean the part where OpenAI's own chief research officer basically admitted that their way of measuring how good the model is based on vibes?
Vibes-based. That doesn't exactly sound super scientific for something that could, change the world. How can you trust something that's being judged on feelings instead of actual data?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It definitely seems like there's not a lot of transparency or, rigor in how they're making and judging these things.
It's like a chef telling you their new dish is amazing because it makes them feel good, but they won't let you actually taste it.
Yeah, exactly. And with something as powerful as AI, that lack of transparency is a little, unsettling, to say the least. Makes you wonder, right? Like, are we putting the cart before the horse with all this? Trying to make AI that feels like a person before we've even gotten the whole thinking part down?
It kind of feels that way. I mean, we're already having these big discussions about, like, sentient AI and stuff, but we haven't even figured out how to stop these models from spitting out totally wrong information.
Exactly. And that's the thing about all this hype. You can lose sight of the real problems if you get too caught up in it. Like
Yeah.
this whole emotional intelligence thing, it's a cool idea, but maybe it's distracting us from, making sure AI is actually reliable.
I get why people would want an AI that can, like, understand how you feel. But honestly, right now I'd be happy with one that could write a simple email without making up a bunch of facts.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would agree with that. That's why it's so important to push back against this idea that emotional intelligence is the most important thing for AI. I mean, there definitely are potential benefits to AI understanding emotions, don't get me wrong.
Oh, for sure. Like, think about it. A therapy bot that could not only, like, hear your words, but actually pick up on your tone and stuff.
Yeah.
Or a customer service AI that could actually empathize with someone who's frustrated. That could be huge.
Exactly. But the thing is, we have to do it responsibly. It has to be accurate, transparent. It should be used to help people, not to manipulate them or anything like that.
It seems like with this GPT 4.5 thing, maybe OpenAI was so focused on making a model that felt smart that they kind of forgot about some of the stuff that actually makes AI intelligent.
Yeah. Yeah, classic case of style over substance. It just shows how much we need better ways to measure how good these models are. We can't just go off of vibes, right? We need objective ways to see if they can actually reason, solve problems, understand the world correctly.
Totally agree. But
Yeah.
how do we even start to do that? I mean, what does thinking even look like for an AI? And how do we measure that in a way that actually means something?
It's a tough question. There's no easy answer, but one way to go about it is to focus on testing how well an AI can do things that need real understanding,
Yeah.
not just recognizing patterns or copying humans. Like what if we challenged it to solve a logic puzzle or explain a complicated idea or even have a philosophical debate?
Those are really cool ideas, but wouldn't that need a level of general intelligence that AI just doesn't have yet?
Yeah.
We're still pretty far away from having AI that understands the world the way we do, right?
That's true, but setting those goals, even if they're ambitious, it helps point research in the right direction. It's about pushing the limits of what AI can do while also making sure it's, ethical and actually useful.
Okay, so we're talking about setting high standards for AI, making sure it's not just copying us, but actually understanding. But how do we make sure this all happens responsibly?
That's where being open and working together is really important. We need everyone talking to each other. Researchers, developers, people making policy, the public. We need to figure out ethical guidelines, rules for AI. That includes dealing with things like bias, data privacy, how AI is going to affect jobs in society.
It feels like we're at a crossroads here. Like one path leads to AI that's all secretive and hyped up, maybe even used for bad stuff, and the other path is AI that's developed out in the open, ethically, and focused on solving the big problems we're facing.
And the path we choose is going to have a huge impact, not just on technology, but on everything.
It sounds like the real challenge isn't just building AI that wows everyone with how advanced it is, but making sure it's actually good for, for humanity.
Absolutely. We got to move past those flashy demos and buzzwords and focus on AI that can actually solve real problems and do it in a way that's ethical, transparent, accountable.
But then that brings up another question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, who gets to decide what those problems are
Yeah.
and how AI should be used to solve them?
That's the big question. And it just shows how important it is for everyone to be a part of this AI thing. We need people from all walks of life with different backgrounds and opinions to be involved. That's the only way to make sure AI is developed in a way that benefits everybody, not just a select few.
It's like we're standing at this fork in the road. One path leads to AI that's all hush-hush, driven by hype, and maybe even used for things we wouldn't be happy about. The other path, well, that leads to AI that's developed out in the open, ethically, with a focus on tackling the big challenges facing humanity.
And the path we choose, well, it's going to have a huge impact, not just on technology, but on society as a whole.
It's a lot to think about. But, this whole conversation about GPT 4.5, it's been a good reality check, I think.
Yeah.
It reminds us that we can't just sit back and watch this AI revolution happen. We need to be involved, asking the tough questions, demanding transparency, and making sure this technology is shaped in a way that aligns with our values.
Couldn't agree more. The future of AI is way too important to just leave it up to chance. It's time for us to step up and make sure this powerful technology is used to create a better world for everyone.
Well, that's all the time we have for our deep dive today. Big thanks to our expert for joining us and sharing such insightful perspectives. And of course, to you, our listeners, for tuning in and engaging with these important questions. It's clear that the AI landscape is evolving rapidly, and it's conversations like these that help us navigate the complexities and ensure we're shaping a future we can all be proud of. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.